let's get going. It's 7 o'clock Eastern time. All right, thanks for that awkward moment. I just wanted to soak it in a little bit because I'm not sure when I'm going to get the chance to do this again. So I had an interesting title slide for today, and I just switched it to this, Mocha or Make Oracle Cool Again. And I have to tell you, even before I get going here, I sent a message in Slack to Shakib Rahman, and I'm just totally impressed. I just think the Apex community is just destroying it. I could not be more impressed. It's this whole event is amazing because of the Apex community. So good morning or good afternoon or evening. My name is Joel Kallman. I am a almost 24-year Oracle employee, and I'm based in Columbus, Ohio. Mike Hitchwa and I created Apex back in 1999, and we have been leading the development and product management of it since that time. Anybody who's seen me present before always knows that I have to give a shout out to the great state of Ohio. As most everybody knows, Oracle headquarters is based in Silicon Valley in the Bay Area of California. And as Shakib showed earlier, I guess effectively this morning, Apex HQ is where he and our Senior Vice President, Mike Hitchwa, and countless others are at. It's in Reston, Virginia, outside Washington, D.C. Shakib likes to rub it in my face and say that this is global Apex HQ. However, did you know that the second largest concentration of Apex developers on the planet is in Columbus, Ohio, as I lovingly call Apex HQ2. At Apex World in Rotterdam last year in 2019, I thought I gave one of the best presentations of my career. And not only was I well prepared, and I spoke very confidently, and I spoke very positively about the future of Apex. And some things I knew were coming, but also some were my prediction. And they've all come to fruition in this past year. We continue to grow the Apex community around the globe, and we facilitated this by hiring some of the best people in the world in these geographies. So for example, we hired Salim Halal. He's from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. And even though there's already a large community in the Middle East, it helps to have someone there to work with Oracle people and partners and customers. And Apex is really taking off there. And what you're looking at right here is from a recent Oracle Apex for Arab office hours, all entirely in Arabic. And Salim is bringing together the Arab community in the Middle East, and this is going to be a thing that we continue in the future. Also, we hired Monica Godoy as a product manager for Apex in Latin America, and she's based out of Cali, Colombia. And Monica was already very well known in the community. Latin America, just like the Middle East, it is a lot of territory, but it's also a lot of opportunity. And Monica could not be a better hire. She's totally killing it. And we're able to attract and hire and retain world-class experts. What you're looking at here is for an upcoming Latin America community office hours on April 23rd, all in Spanish. And Chaitanya Karatamati, who's our Apex product manager out of Hyderabad, he has an equivalent event planned for the Apex community in India on April 29th. Right, Chaitanya? April 29th.
That's right, Joe. 29th.
Okay, thanks. I like to describe Apex as the quiet revolution. Not necessarily heavily promoted by Oracle over the years, yet somehow we've amassed a 500,000 developer community and tens of thousands of customers. But as of last September 2019, I'm not sure it's accurate to describe this as a quiet revolution any longer. The autonomous database in the Oracle Cloud is strategic to Oracle, so says Larry Ellison. And last September, in the context of the always free autonomous database, our Chief Technology Officer, Larry Ellison, mentioned Apex for low-code web apps at Oracle Open World, the big Oracle conference. Last year it was in San Francisco. And this is the first time this has happened in 20 years of working with Apex. Our product management team, David, Bo, Doug, Chaitanya, Salim, Monica, they have literally trained hundreds of cloud solution engineers and sales consultants in Oracle around the globe, literally hundreds. And what I'm showing here is, this is Senior Vice President Chris Gandolfo, and he runs the North American Cloud SMB Small and Medium Business Division. And they might as well be the Apex sales force in North America, at least, because they are heavily incented to encourage people to try autonomous database. And this team loves Apex. They have their whole sales pipeline in total, and then they separately track Apex on autonomous opportunities. And the way it works is there are these solution engineers. They create simple proof of concepts for customers. And usually it's like a 4 to 5 week sales cycle, like they say, and the customer is up and running. And these aren't massive systems. Is typically a lot of these customers are looking for just small opportunities to digitize otherwise paper-based or Excel-based processes. And it's great because everybody wins. The customer wins, Oracle wins, and it's bringing, get this, net new customers to Oracle. People who have nothing to do with Oracle whatsoever, never used anything about Oracle in their life, yet they're getting this solution that totally improves their business. And these guys are killing it. They are truly a model for the company. And right, it's a young set of people, as you can see. Here's Chris Gandolfo with Tiger King in the background, and they even had a contest that if they doubled the number of Apex on autonomous opportunities, that he would show people a picture of him from the 80s with a mullet. So of course on Slack there was a whole show me the mullet challenge, which, believe it or not, the team got to see the glorious mullet last week Friday. Shakib talked about this during his kickoff earlier this morning, I guess roughly 7 hours ago, at the kickoff of Apex at Home. And it's this application which is used by clinicians and physicians and their patients to track the efficacy of treatments for coronavirus. And instead of the classic 18-month clinical trial cycle, the whole purpose of this system was to gather data that could be used by decision makers. And this gentleman, Tony Baer, I think wrote an excellent article describing the genesis of this system. I did a briefing with him last week, and I thought he did an excellent job really capturing the essence of this backstory. So I might repeat a little bit about what Shakib said, but certainly there are people who didn't see Shakib's talk yet. And this whole initiative kicked off on the 18th of March when our Senior Vice President, Michael Hitra, contacted his senior managers that night. And earlier that evening, Mike had a meeting with Larry Ellison and other executives from Oracle. And to state it succinctly, Larry had promised the White House that he would develop and deploy and make available and donate to the government a data gathering application, and it would be live in 3 days. So the target was Saturday the 21st. And we sprang into action. This call that I had with Mike and others, I think started at around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and we got to work. We sprang into action. And I've taken pictures of this history over this entire development. And you can see me in my pajamas And we were doing data modeling in quick SQL, believe it or not, on apex.oracle.com until 2:30 in the morning. And we're not domain experts in the health sciences area. We're database developers. We're programmers. And so we can see Rebecca Laborde here. She's a master principal scientist in the health sciences GBU. I read her bio and I feel dumb because she's like a PhD in molecular biology. She's a brilliant lady. And she and other people from the health sciences business unit, they know this domain and they worked with us until 2:30 in the morning working on what we thought would be an adequate data model for this application. So we slept 3 hours, maybe 3 hours, and got up the next morning and started working on building the application or applications against this data model. And we worked for 3 days, and the entire Apex team, the entire Apex product development team was mobilized on this effort. And over 3 days, we built a number of applications, and this ultimately led up to a demo with our executives, including Larry Ellison and these other doctors, on Sunday, March 22nd. And it was fascinating to watch Larry Ellison in action, because the entry into this whole system is a registration page. And I swear we probably spent 30 to 45 minutes on just the registration page. He talked about fonts and colors and text and position, and he wanted everything to be beautiful and perfect. So focused on the UI. But as he said, this would be the first time most of these people would have used anything from Oracle in their life. And so he was just squarely focused on this and was giving all this feedback. And at some point in time, he told Shakib, you can see here Shakib in his apartment doing the demo. He said, "Okay, you guys got it. You guys have all this feedback." And Shakib said, "Well, why don't we just make this live? Why don't we just make these changes live?" And that's what happened. For 2.5 hours on Sunday, March 22nd, we worked with Larry Ellison, these folks from the health sciences business unit, doctors, actively building the application in real time. And for people who know Apex, this isn't going to be a great surprise to you. But to be able to engage with the domain experts and take their feedback and make these changes and have them magically appear in real time, and they get to see this in context and go back and make changes again, and you iterate towards this. It was like magic to them. And these doctors were praising Larry for Apex. They said, "Larry, this system is amazing." And after 2.5 hours, we had almost no feedback because it was done live in the system. Shakib and others, they had already built the CRUD applications on the lookup tables. So one of the doctors said, "Oh, a drug is spelled wrong, or you need to add this drug." No problem. This is a totally data-driven application. And Shakib went in, added the drug, fixed it, showed up in the list of values. Magic. And Mike Hitra as well said, I thought this was fascinating. He said, "Can you imagine if we asked Larry Ellison for 2.5 hours to give an Apex demo?" It would never happen. But 2.5 hours that day, as well as almost every day that following week, it was an iteration of this application. And it is that time that I believe there was this massive awakening, this massive realization by the executives at Oracle, which is why I offered this rather opaque tweet. I did this on March 23rd, but on March 22nd, not only sadly was it the 10-year anniversary of our teammate, Scott Spatafor, but I knew for certain this was the day we would record in history that the eyes have been opened of the executives at Oracle. And oh, by the way, these two events, exactly the day, exactly the 10-year anniversary of Scott Spatafore's death, is not a coincidence. 1,000 people from Oracle were involved in this initiative. Our entire Apex team was mobilized, and we were also able to capitalize on, believe it or not, the Apex community in multiple ways. As an example of how this community came together, let's take a look at this page here. And this is probably the most important page in the entire application. This is the patient update. So you're a patient who's being treated for coronavirus, and we want you to provide feedback. How are you doing compared to yesterday? Better, worse, same, any new symptoms? And we wanted to make it as easy as possible. As most people know, there's also a large Spanish-speaking population in the US, and we needed to support a Spanish translation. So fortunately, I already talked about Monica, and she's based in Colombia and obviously a native Spanish speaker. And she had done the majority of these translations, but in one of these reviews, an executive in Oracle questioned one of her translations. He suggested it might be Portuguese, believe it or not. So fair point. Maybe Spanish in Colombia isn't the same as Spanish spoken commonly in the US. And so I was able to reach out to the Apex community for their help. So on early Sunday morning, this isn't a weekday, but quite honestly, do the days really matter? On an early Sunday morning, Monica reached out to Ivo Ronzoni in Oracle, Argentina. And Ivo and his team, they run the LAD Services Delivery Center for Apex. And he and his team have done internal to Oracle Apex app dev for more than 10 years. We also reached out to Eric Peterson, and Eric is the general manager of the Oracle Mexico Development Center in Guadalajara. And we also asked him to help validate all these translations. And we should note that Eric has been using Apex since it was HTMLDB. And to get some feedback from people who speak Spanish in the US, I sent an urgent email, probably 7 a.m. my time, Sunday morning, to 2 longtime Apex customers who work for the US federal government. And unfortunately, they asked me not to identify them or their employer. But anyways, on an early Sunday morning, they contacted me. They responded to my mail. We got on a Zoom conference right away. And everyone, all of these people immediately dropped exactly what they were doing to help us in any small or big way. And they reviewed all the translations in Apex. And just like that, we had completely vetted all the translations so that the patient update page that you see here will be completely clear to someone who is speaking Spanish. What a great community. And for the record, Monica's original translation was correct. I shrank this architecture and I fuzzed it because I don't want anybody to capture it or get any details here. But I just want people to know that this is more than just an Apex story. It is an Oracle and Oracle Cloud story because there are more than 1,000 people who participated in this initiative. And the little Apex app, if you can see my pointer, is back here. It's back in this little database back here. And there's all this defensive infrastructure around it. And this is also the first time that I worked with the OCI team in Seattle over there. I've never really worked directly with them, and they're amazing, and they're competent and professional. And I'm very bullish on Oracle in part because of them. So this initiative started March 18th. Effectively, we had a working system on the 21st, and it was iterated over that next week, and it was released on the evening of March 30th, and it was announced by the White House on April 3rd. And this is what I put on LinkedIn. My son would say that I'm flexing my views here, but this is probably one of the proudest moments in my career, and also one of the most challenging. I saw my wife for probably an hour a day over a 2-week period. And like you, I work from home, weekends, everything. But little did you know By the time this announcement happened on April 3rd, the team was already working on a second system, working with research universities in the US. I need to make a quick call out to Shakib Rahman here, who's the inventor of the universal theme and probably one of the top UI designers on the planet, because everybody on the Apex product development team, as well as the Apex community, should be totally proud of him. I think no one else on the planet could have done this in front of Larry Ellison, navigating source, looking at the CSS styles, adjusting things. He made it look easy. If that had been me, I would have crumbled. I would have said, what does this inspect thing do in Chrome? And a funny story about this is during one of these iterations, Larry was looking at this, and this was when the app was white. And Larry said, it's too much on the eyes. It drains your energy. And Shakib suggested a dark mode. And Larry said, great. How long for a dark mode? So of course, Mike Hitchwa, who has no CSS experience whatsoever, said 2 hours. And Shakib's eyes grew really big like this because it's not a mere inversion of the colors. But Larry said, great, let's reconvene in 2 hours and see what you got. And I could not imagine being under absolute pressure like this, but he and Tim Kimbrell and the team totally delivered. I want you to also be very proud of the Oracle Apex team. It's almost shocking the amount of world-class talent we've been able to assemble on this team. I'm not trying to be boastful or arrogant, but I want people to understand this is a world-class team. And I'm still stunned how we're able to gather everybody on this one organization. And on this particular initiative, everybody was mobilized. Everybody was all in. It was really a selfless effort. Vlad, for example, I think numerous days went to bed at 5 a.m. No joke. But I also want people to understand that we don't build just tools. We build and deliver applications at scale, and we use tools to help us. And I don't think any other team on the planet could have done this. It's more than just Apex. It's security. It's assigned JWTs. It's performance. It's hardening. It's database development. It's everything. And these are probably the smartest people in the world for a task like this. And here's the thing. We've done it for years. Sorry, Mark. I know I'm going long. I'll try to pick it up. You always have to be careful when I say I'm only going to take 15 minutes here. As Shakib showed last night, the first line of Apex was written by Mike Hitchwa on August 4th, 1999. And that same day, I wrote the first line of the web calendar, which was the very first application in Apex. This app was done in 3 months and used by 25,000 users, and this was back in 1999. But as part of this whole effort, as I told Mike, this 21 years was really a long journey, and it was an education, and it was assembling of a team that prepared us for exactly this moment. The people, the experience, the dark days, the lessons learned, everything enabled us to pull this off. And do you think it's more than a mere coincidence that the two watershed moments in the history of Apex, the Genesis in 1999 and this latest project, they're directly related to requests from Larry Ellison to Mike Hitchwa? It's fascinating. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. So what lies ahead for us in the Apex community? I think this exercise has opened many eyes at Oracle. Apex is part of the sales go-to-marketing plan for the next fiscal year, which begins in June. For the first time in my life and yours, there's actually going to be a sizable marketing budget for Apex. There's great interest in bringing the multilingual engine, Graal VM, to market in conjunction with Apex. And a few weeks ago, I sent a message to our customers and some partners who have supported us for years. Ultimately, my goal was to thank them for really supporting us through these many years, because we could not have gotten here without all this support. And so as we make this transition from community tool to, let's say, something broader, I don't want us to lose sight of our roots and how we got here. And that's because of you. For years, I've always described Apex as a niche tool. Nobody is ever going to mention Apex in the same breath as Java or React or .NET. And now, I'm not so sure. I think anything is possible. On March 18th, on my personal blog, I issued a plea to the community that you're talented and capable, and actively seek where your talents can be used. Don't wait for people to come find you. And the Apex community totally delivered. If you go to apex.world, you'll see all these COVID-19 related solutions. And thanks to Jürgen Schuster, he listed this therapeutic learning system attributed to author Larry Ellison, and I think it's wholly accurate. He totally led the development of this app. And I have to give a shout out to our friends from Rex, the makers of ApexSec. I've witnessed countless people who are putting Apex apps on the internet and exposing it to hackers and the like. And they kindly extended trials of their security scanning software for Apex applications to basically thwart these hackers. So thanks to them. And believe it or not, I have one additional plea to you. So this is no longer Oracle talking, but this is me personally, okay? The last trip I took before everything shut down was to Oracle headquarters in California. And on March 6th, I had a meeting with a customer. I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I'm going to say it anyways. Rotary International. I'm sure you heard of them. I heard of them. I couldn't really tell you what they're about. And so I did some basic research on them. And I found that they're a non-religious international service organization, and their motto is service above self. And those words completely resonated with me because ultimately it's the purpose of my life, to elevate and serve others. And I told them directly it was my honor to be able to meet them and talk to them, as their purpose is so completely consistent with my calling. And on my flight home, that's what repeated in my head over and over again: service above self. And those who know me personally know that I have an unwavering faith in God. It's what defines me as a person. And I don't try to conceal that fact, and I attempt to live my faith. And I fail in so many ways every day, miserably, but I still try to live it. And it's with my faith that I view every person as having infinite value. Those among us, those we don't know, infinite value. And with this global pandemic, I've witnessed countless people in the Apex community helping others in big and small ways. And all of these things have mattered. You don't have to do something big or global to have a big impact on someone's life. Eventually, all of us are going to be delivered from this pandemic, and we'll have an opportunity to retreat once again to our nice, comfortable lives. But there's going to continue to be countless among us who need our help. It's endless. The oppressed, the infirmed, the mentally ill, the imprisoned, those living in abject poverty. And additionally, there's going to be a ton of people who have been affected by this pandemic, who's not only have they lost their jobs, their livelihoods have been wiped out, gone. I'll bet you know some people, businesses closed or bankrupt. And so it's my hope that this event, which has happened to all of us, I hope that it's awakened in our community that you possess an amazing skill. And with the use of your God-given talents, you can have a profound impact on people's lives. In the US, IT people are considered essential workers, and for good reason. You're essential. Let that sink in. So is the Apex community simply a technical community that likes to talk about and use a piece of computer software? Or is it a collection of empowered people, empowered, amazing human beings who can collectively improve others' lives? I think it's the latter. The Apex community is unique within Oracle, and I would say unique within the industry, and I've never seen anything like it. And I'm simply grateful to be a part of it. and you should be too.
All right. First, brief introduction. My name is Marc Sewtz. I joined Oracle in 1998 in Germany, moved to New York a year later, still live in New York, and I joined the Apex team in 2002. If you want to follow me on Twitter, here's my information, and also connect with me on LinkedIn. All right, Apex 21 is not out yet, so here's our safe harbor statement. Things may still change. And I would like to highlight this link, apexoracle.com. For those of you who are new to it, this is our hosted development instance. We've upgraded that instance to Apex 20.1 about 4 weeks ago. Apex 21 has not been released on premises yet. You can't download it yet, and it won't come out today, but we hope to release it soon. But if you want to try it out, if you want to try out our new features, go to apexoracle.com and sign up for Workspace, log into your workspace, and try out our new features. I want to highlight a few more links. As of a few days ago, we also published the Apex 20.1 documentation. You can go to apexoracle.com/doc201 and read up on what's new and learn about all the new features and existing features. And I would like to especially highlight the release notes, and you can just go to doc201 and navigate from there. But that's a direct link here. Read up on release notes. You can read up on new features there, change behavior, and especially deprecated and desupported features and fixed bugs. And let me briefly go to this site over here. So we have about 560 participants here today. And if you are new to Apex office hours, I just want to highlight this page. We do these office hours every month or two, and you'll find all the recordings of past office hours here on this page. So come to the site frequently, look up new office hours coming up, and watch recordings of previous office hours. And you'll also find recordings of the sessions today on Apex office hours. I also want to highlight our statement of directions. So I'm going to talk about 20.1 just a little bit today, but we do have the statement of direction that we keep up to date. So if you want to see where things are heading, what we've planned for the future, go to apexoracle.com/SOD, or this full URL, and you'll find information on all the features we are working on. All right, back to my slides. So I don't have time to demo each and every feature. We want to open it up to question and answers in a little bit, but I do want to highlight a few changes that are coming in Apex 20.1. You've already seen the new Redwood UI in the builder in previous presentations today. So that changed. Redwood will also come to custom themes, universal theme for your own custom applications. That's not in 20.1 yet, but that's planned for the future. We're also introducing mega menus, an alternative way to render your navigation. Instead of having it on the top or the side, it'll be rendered as a mega menu, which is pretty much what you see on apexoracle.com or oracle.com. It's this kind of menu that opens up like a larger area on your screen with links to all the places in your application. Friendly URLs, and I hope to briefly show that. Friendly URLs means instead of having our classic F*P syntax in your URL, you'll have more, I guess, common URLs with a path in your URL and your arguments all added in the back. This is primarily, well, looks nicer, but it's also better for search engine optimization. We worked on enhancements to faceted search and interactive grids. And we're also working on PDF printing. In Apex 20.1, you'll see our new PDF printing, native PDF printing in interactive grids. So there's native PDF printing built into Apex now, and that will be expanded in the future. For the time being, it's just in interactive grids, but more components are going to support this hopefully soon. We also expanded our support for external print engines. For example, you're now able to configure Apex Office Print directly in your instant administration. We enhanced our application exports. So rather than having one big SQL file, you can now export your applications as zip files. And inside those zip files, you find all your components, pages, shared components, templates, and such, broken down into a hierarchy of files that are generally SQL files. You also have the ability to configure automatic backups of your applications inside Apex. Your application is going to be backed up every night, and we'll retain up to 25 or so versions of your application. And there's also a new option for you to remotely deploy your applications directly to other instances, for example, from your dev to your QA to your prod instance, or directly to Autonomous. And the numerous other features, we have a new session timeout alert, we have enhancements to SQL Workshop, SODA collection support for data warehouse file formats like Parquet and Afro. So there's lots more, but I want to highlight these few here today. And let me do a quick demonstration. So I talked about Redwood. So this is my local Apex 20.1 instance. I'm going to log in, and you instantly notice the Redwood UI. And right now I'm running in dark mode. I can easily toggle this to the light mode. Oops, not this. This is the light mode. And the reason this was running in dark mode is because it's early here at 7:37, and I had this automatic mode turned on. And if I have the automatic mode, then it follows my operating system. I have my Mac configured to run dark mode at night and light mode during the day. And with this automatic option here, Apex follows along with that. So let's go to light mode. That's right. All right, so I want to create a quick application, highlight things like our friendly URLs and some other enhancements. So let's get started. And if you have seen me present over the last year or so, I've always been using this particular spreadsheet, which is a list of New York City high schools. My kids go to New York City schools. And this is the list of all the 400 plus high schools in New York City. And this year we had to pick one, or pick 12 actually, to rank for my son to go to in the fall. And as of 2 weeks ago, we finally got the results. He got his #1 pick. But let me show how this process worked. So I'm going to go to build an application from a file. I'm just going to drop in this spreadsheet over here. Let's call this high schools. And then you get a preview of the data. That's exactly what you've just seen in your spreadsheet. So I'm just going to go ahead. Of course, there you go. So now a table gets created, 427 rows get loaded, and I can now directly go to the Create Application wizard. So far, that's not really new. We had that before. What's new now, though, is the ability to, for example, choose Mega Menu as your navigation. And as before, you can choose different theme styles. And then you get a few pages pre-created based on the data that I've uploaded. I get a faceted search report, an interactive report with a form, and I'm going to include all these features. And I'm going to go right ahead and create this application. Almost there. There you go. Got my new application created. And I'm just going to run this. And first thing you may notice is that we have this mega menu here now. Doesn't look very mega right now because there's no hierarchy, no structure in my menu. I could now easily create a hierarchy of navigation items and have a nice looking mega menu. And there are lots of configuration options available for you to make this look nicer. Just so you can find this, it's under your user interface settings. You go down to your navigation menu here. You pick the mega menu from the list template. And based on that selection, you have a number of template options that allow you to configure the look of your mega menu. There you go. Now it stretches full width, and it has that little tick mark here to point up. All right. So next thing that you might notice is the URL. So rather than the old F question mark P syntax, you now have a friendlier URL. What's is always there. At home is the name of my schema, my workspace. You can go to SQL Workshop, REST Workshop, and configure your alias to make that put something else in there. R is a router, that's always there. High schools is the name of my application, and home is my page alias. And then there's the session ID right after. And if you have arguments, then they're going to be added here in the back. Now, one thing to point out, you can configure this in your application properties, turn on or off friendly URLs. If you turn this off, then you get back to the old F question mark P syntax with application ID and page ID. If you turn it back on, you go back to friendly URLs, and you can use them interchangeable. You can always navigate to the old style application ID and page ID, so both work. But if you have this enabled, you get the friendlier URLs. And also quickly want to highlight faceted search enhancements. So this is faceted search. This is the data that I just uploaded. And this, again, is a list of high schools. And I can now go in and choose which high schools I like. I only want to have high schools in Brooklyn and Manhattan in my list. And I would like to have street schools. So this way I can reduce the result set. And again, that came in Apex 19.2. What's new is that we added a few new features, one of which is conditional facets. So you can have conditions to determine when facets are going to be shown. And you also have cascading LOVs. So for example, if I go in here, I can navigate to, say, borrow, for example, and I can define that this is dependent on, say, the method. And I want to have the method equal to test. And if that's the case, then the borrow is not going to be shown unless I actually pick a testing school. And there's my borrow. And similar to that, you can have cascading LOVs, meaning if you, for example, have countries and continents, if you just want to see North American countries and you pick North America as your region, then you can have these kind of cascading LOVs in your facets. All right. So I only have like a minute or so left. So let's look for a few other highlights. Yeah, one thing that I did want to highlight is if I now create.
Sorry, Mark. I'm going to tell you, we're able to bleed into the 7:55. So you have at least 10 minutes, at least.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I do want to leave a little bit time for questions though. So let me just do this one thing. So I do want to create an interactive grid on my high schools. There you go. So now I'm going to run this. That's my interactive grid page. And I don't want to see all these numbers here. They are a little bit hard to read. So that looks nice. So now what I would like to highlight here is the ability to download to PDF. So this is using our new native PDF printing capabilities. Here's letter, let's go with landscape and download. So this gets me a PDF of this interactive grid. And this is done without any external printing engines. This is natively built into Apex in PL SQL. And this is available for interactive grids in 20.1 and will be extended to other reporting components in the future. All right. Then last thing I'd like to show you here, when you go to export-import, you now have the ability to download your application as a zip file. So you turn this on, export as zip, click export. And then instead of a big SQL file, you get a f104.zip file. And that looks like, one second. Yeah, how do I get my thing back? Yeah, that's not helpful. Sorry. Let's do this again and download this in the right folder. Ah, shoot. Okay, sorry for that. So there's my file. I can now extract this. And as I extract it, you'll see that I get a nice hierarchy of all the different components in my application. And there's also an install.sql file, which allows you to install this structure via command line into another Apex instance. This also works with component export. So you can go ahead and just pick and choose the pieces, the parts of your application that you want to include in a zip. Then add this to your export. Oops, not like this. Next. And then export this as a zip file, and then you get just those components in your export along with an install file. So there are my components. There's my tree structure, and there's my install components.sql file. All right, and then last piece here, going back to my application. If you want to deploy this directly to another instance, dev, QA, autonomous, you click to remote deployment, pick a service, and then you can directly deploy this to another instance. In this case, it's my local Apex 20.2 instance. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. Again, go to the statement of direction to learn more about our plans, and go to our documentation to learn more about our new features. And I included a whole bunch of links here, apexoracle.com, our primary site, links to documentation, and links to shortcuts. So this is a good slide to copy, lots of useful links. All right, so with that, I'd like to open it up to questions.
Okay, thanks, Marc. So I just want to make clarify something. Somebody asked if there's other technologies used in that therapeutic learning system. And sorry if I gave the impression. On the back end, it is all Apex all the time. It's a fleet of 7 applications, more than 100 pages, and there's a custom identity provider in front. It's running on Exadata Cloud Service. It's all Apex. The integration with SMS, mail, the works. Okay, Marc, this is from Suzanne, who we know. She asked, where do you get the New York City high school list? So you need to get back to her and tell her where you got that.
New York City Open Data.
New York City Open Data, okay. This might be for you or Menno. In print, PDF, and Apex 20.1, does it support CSS styles?
No, there's no CSS for the PDF export. So this is just based on our built-in layout. There are customization options for like page header, page footer, colors, fonts, and such, but there's no style sheet as such.
Okay. I know the answer to this, but I'll let you ask it as well. Answer it. Somebody asked, in friendly URLs, can you pass page items?
Yes, you can. They look just like you would see in a normal HTML form. They're going to be appended at the end with ampersand separation.
Okay. Also, even though this was answered in text here, can existing applications simply be switched to friendly URLs so that any existing old school URLs are transparently rewritten?
Yes, you can turn on this friendly URL feature in the application settings that I briefly showed. And then you can go through your pages, give them alias names, friendly names, and then you'll have friendly URLs in your existing apps.
Okay. I might answer this one if you don't mind. Somebody asked, 2 people asked, when will Apex 20.1 be an autonomous database? So firstly, the actual release of Apex 20.1 has to happen, and you have to get that from Apex Rumors. We can't give that to you. So Apex Rumors seems to be in the know. But then after this is released, it's our hope that this is propagated to autonomous database, I would say roughly within hopefully like 30 days. But one thing we're introducing in Apex on autonomous database, and we're backporting this to Apex 19.2 on autonomous, is you will be able to basically flip a switch that says, hey, when the next Apex upgrade, the Apex 20.1 upgrade happens, don't immediately apply it to my service, to my database. And you'll get a notice saying there are pending Apex upgrades, and this would give you an opportunity to clone this database, let the upgrades automatically happen, test it out, and then come back to your production instance and flip the switch at a time of your choosing, 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and then the Apex upgrade can happen. So we think that this will reduce some of the concerns people have about notifying customers that the Apex upgrades are coming. And we expect for this to maybe give you like a 30 to 45 day window of when the Apex 20.1's available. If you don't do it within 45 days, then we're going to do it for you. Okay. Marc, another question for you. Can you switch to mega menu for an existing application? And if so, how? Oh, and I think this is from Isabel from Oracle Manufacturing and Distribution.
You got to update your universal theme. Once you've updated universal theme, you'll have this new mega menu template in the option that I've shown under the user interface settings. So you pick your mega menu there, and it automatically picks up your existing navigation list structure. So of course, typically it's very flat. So you do want to build out a hierarchy in your list, but yeah, you can switch over after upgrading the theme.
Okay, thanks. Marc, you know this was the TLS, the Therapeutic Learning System. Was it deployed as a PWA or a web application?
Well, it's a web application.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I know the answer, but this person doesn't. And they could go to the registration page at you could even show this if you want, Marc, at covid19.oracle.com. You can at least see the registration page there, and you'll notice, and you can look at the source. It's all Apex. And so if you click the Create Healthcare Practitioner account, it's an Apex app. Okay. And a colleague from the Middle East said, when will we have PWA support natively in Apex, Marc?
Looking at it, but there's no immediate plans to have that.
Okay. Will we support other databases such as MySQL for Apex?
We're working on that, and if that is to come, then it would go through ORTS and the REST-enabled SQL support built into ORTS, which we're looking to extend to other databases, including MySQL.
Marc, will Apex always stay free? It's a question.
It's a free feature, no-cost option of the Oracle database, and it will remain that way.
That's right. Although it's a feature, right? We like to say because there's options associated with other. But here's a nugget for people in case people don't stay tied in with the Apex community. Machine learning and spatial was made available, included in all Oracle databases. Before, these were actually paid for options that you actually had to pay additionally on top of your license for the Oracle database. And these are fully consumable at no additional charge. And I think in every Oracle database that supports it. I think that's it, Marc. Am I, Shakib or Menno, am I missing anything? I think I have all the questions. Sorry for squeezing you on time, Marc.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I think I got covered the highlights, and there's more to try out, so go to Apex.
Yeah. We have one more minute. Will Apex be able to work with NoSQL databases like Mongo?
Well, we can always connect to such databases through our REST support, but I don't think there's any direct native support coming.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so it's 7:55 our time. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and the next session will begin exactly in 5 minutes at the top of the hour. Thanks, everyone.